Hi, my name is Alyssa Fowler. I'm the loan manager with CoreLend Financial. Welcome to our new podcast series, The Investor's Guide to Hard Money Lending. We hope you enjoy the series.
Welcome to the first episode of Investor's Guide to Hard Money Lending. We help investors understand how to scale their businesses using hard money lending. And we would like to introduce Mario Jaramillo. Red Rock Construction, I got that one down. One of our preferred contractors with CoreLend, and he's also a repeat borrower of CoreLend, so he's very familiar with our processes, does excellent work. And so we're just going to bounce some questions on to him, have a little conversation about how you can have success in this process and using CoreLend and using hard money lending in general, because I think this is translate throughout the United States as well for different investors.
Absolutely.
So first of all, Mario, give me a little bit of your background, your company.
So I own a couple of companies, right? But Red Rock Construction is our construction arm. We kind of fell into construction mainly as a need. We had a really hard time being able to find, the right mix of quality, price, and the speed at which, our investment needs needed. And we went through so many different general contractors and handyman and kind of a hodgepodge. And ultimately we just said, hey, you know what? I think I can do this better. We were already working with a couple of people that we liked, and that organically kind of just came up, and we created Red Rock Construction, and we've been going at it for the last 7 years, working not only on our own investment properties, which is where that need came from, but we started having investors reach out to us and say, hey man, I like your work, right? Do you do work for others? At first we said no, and then we kind of started opening up that door, and then it just, blew up into a full-blown, construction business. And, now, we run a pretty solid team. We have about 50 people that we work with, in terms of people that work in their construction company that we're able to handle, investment projects for investors, especially out of state.
Yeah, and that's what to bring things is you are an investor yourself. I myself am an investor as well. I think all of us on our team at CoreLend invest in properties ourselves. So we know what we're looking at on these things too. So of trying to provide services to our borrowers and the knowledge that you bring. But your first question, how it kind of goes into this. You scaled up to 50 employees. You've got these construction teams. How have you been able to scale your business using hard money?
Well, I don't think I could have done it without hard money, right? So that's one of the things. We just being able to leverage, your resources to purchase more properties has been, a key reason that we were able to scale. In fact, we used it to go from 0 properties to, I think, a little over 50 properties in the course of 3 years. And that's a very, some people have done it faster, but we think that it's a pretty healthy amount of, scaling upwards. And working with a traditional bank won't always allow you to do something like that because they're cumbersome. They have a lot more roadblocks. They have to have their appraisal. They have to have their inspector go in. It's all these steps. And, some of these properties, we're trying to add value, right? We're trying to get something out of it. And they have a lot of repairs that need to be done. And banks, your traditional banks, is not really going to go for that. They want that repaired before they start lending on that. So that would be one takeaway. The other one is when I use CoreLend, your hard money, it allows me to treat deals like cash, right? So when I'm approaching the offers, it's treated like cash, right? Hey, I can close it, as little as 10 days or whenever title work comes back. As long as I have my ducks in a row, right? I get that to you. I can close really fast. In fact, just recently, it allowed me to take an opportunity I would not have been able to with any other resource, which there was a buyer that had a house under contract. His bank was unable to, perform, and his contract was expiring in 4 days, right? And he said, Mario, would you like to take a stab at this? And then I said, give me a second. I called you and I said, can we close this in 4 days? And you said, let's go.
And we did it.
And we were able to close it, 100% fund date of the purchase price and the renovation. So I thought that was the coolest thing. And, it allowed me to take advantage of opportunities like that.
Then you're right. And that's, you bring up a key point there of traditional banks not being able to lend on these things. And I could probably expand on some areas where we're going into and improving these areas. There's just not enough comps there to really support this ARV, but we know there's been one. So it's like, it's almost we can kind of help you create more of your own comp for that area that you're investing in that you might be new to, but that's where you're finding the newest deals where the market is heading towards.
Oh, that's absolutely right. And I think that you hit a key point earlier too, when you said is we're investors too, right? So we look at things completely different than a traditional bank. Yeah. Mhm.
Right. We see opportunity. We see where in the Memphis market where these new businesses are coming in. Hey, that's going to drive employment there. That's going to drive people that need places to live. Well, there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of cheap properties I can pick up. They need work there.
100%. And we're driving those streets, right? Where that bank, that big bank is not going up and down these streets. I mean, we're out there every single day. We're looking at this. I mean, day in and day out. So we're seeing those opportunities way before, you know, most other people.
Yes, and we've been around long enough. Memphis is a street by street, block by block. So
100%.
So, that's something that is kind of unique to Memphis, I would say. And and we'll get into this kind of where we're going, where we're trying to take this to another market. But you go into the next question. What are some of those common mistakes you see flippers, investors make when they are rehabbing properties? Or
I guess it's different, right? So if you have a new investor, one of the things that like somebody that's just getting into investing is probably a little bit of indecisiveness and fear, right? So there's that analysis paralysis, right? You've heard that. They overanalyze a deal. I mean, to the extreme. By the time they're ready to make a decision, that deal's already gone, right? Because your good deals are gone like that. I mean, you don't have that time. So that analysis paralysis, one of the things that they can do to really fix that is have a deal calculator. And I think you guys have one on your website.
we do.
I think that's a really good start just to have it and plug your numbers in, make sure that they, hit a certain, criteria, and then just pull the trigger, right? So don't get paralyzed by that. That fear also, once they get the deal, because it's the first time, they're a little scared, I would say.
Yes.
You get one bump in the road and they're ready to jump off the ship, right? The world is falling down. So I see that. And then I guess for a seasoned investor would be just a lot of too many decisions have to be made on a project at a time. So it just doesn't allow them to scale as quickly as they want. So I would suggest to them, find a strategy, right? Limit the amount of decisions that have to be made in order to implement that strategy and then stick to it, right? Keep it real simple.
Yes, I would agree with you on that. And you say the analysis paralysis, you have looking at that of thinking they want every deal to be a home run.
Yep.
Not every deal's going to be a home run. You're going to get those every now and then, but solid base hits or doubles or triples, those can sit there and scale you up even faster than too. And like you said, then getting to make the decisions, get a plan and stick to it.
Yep.
You don't change every design, change this where I don't like this, go with it. So you're starting every day you're using hard money, you're eating into your profit.
Yep. 100%.
So, okay. All right. So regarding properties, what are some big red flags that you see some investors ignore or miss when purchasing a property?
Well, the biggest one is going to be not inspecting the property, right? You're just going off of the photos, or you're going off what the real estate agent told you. Hey, if you think this, and not getting, somebody that innately knows, what to look for. So there's two types of inspectors, right? You have the home inspector that your traditional bank will send out. They're going to tell you, hey, the water heater, is this old, right? It needs working condition, right? Or the roof is this old, or hey, this will need to be replaced, right? They're going to give you a laundry list of items that are wrong. But what they're not going to tell you is how much those items are going to cost you, right? And that'll directly affect your ROI. So a lot of the investors that I work with CoreLend borrowers, and the investors that I work, out of state, they'll hire me sometimes even before they get the deal under contract just to see whether it's worth it. They'll send me in. I'll do my full-blown inspection, right? They get a good solid scope of work with the estimated amount of, what it's going to cost. They plug that into their deal calculator, and then they can make a real fast decision on whether this deal makes sense, this deal doesn't make sense. And those are usually the investors that are just popping out 2-3 deals every single month.
I agree. To touch on that is where people hire a traditional inspector. They're going to pay $450 to $500 on that. They should not balk. It's like a contractor coming and giving them this valuable information. They're charging that same amount. That is worth every penny, if not even more, because you're giving them how much it's actually going to cost to repair it.
So, and if you need to run away from a deal, right? let's say even more headaches or even possibly a sour deal where you end up losing money. So we really look out for you on that standpoint when we do our inspections, and we're investors as well. So we're looking for the return on investment, right? We're not trying to change everything, right? If we can salvage something, we're gonna salvage it.
Because like you go in, like you're gonna admit, we're in this area. We don't need to do the top high end finishes. Let's do this basic. We can do this, and you're gonna maximize what your dollar being spent in the property is. Other than you also say taking things sighted, seeing or buying those. We're in an old city too. Yeah, I've run into investors. Well, I bought these duplexes that are on traditional foundations, and they're 100 years old, and they're sinking in, and then that's a huge fix, and it's like, oh, that's a big change order there. So I would agree with you there. That's extremely solid advice there. Do not buy things sight unseen. Usually there's a reason for that.
Oh, 100%. And then I'll just add this last point is the real estate agent or whoever's listing that property is trying to make that property look the absolute best that they can in those photos. So it's just, oh man, there's so much it's not telling you.
Right. And not say that, and just say again on sight unseen, we can be your boots on the ground. Your contractors, your CoreLend, your hard money, we can be your boots on the ground here if you're out of state. It's just you don't want to be blind and nobody's put eyes on it that's in your court.
Yep.
So I think, where are you seeing investors find success right now in flips or investment properties, turnkeys?
So it's really changed over the years. Last year we definitely saw it. Some of the higher end, I would say north of $300,000, flips were like sales price. Maybe move a lot slower than they did, in the years past.
Yes.
But what I'm seeing and my investors are seeing is right around that $200,000 mark, right? Like plus or minus, is really the sweet spot. So I would say between $150,000 to $250,000 as the target sales price has been real good. And I think that's attributed to, it makes it very easy to sell that property to first-time home buyers.
Yes.
And that provides a great entry point. So that'd be for like the flip. The other one would.
Can I interject something? You said that a price point for the first-time home buyers, it also gives you a dual exit strategy, where if you don't have that first-time home buyer, chances are at that price point, you could put a tenant in there, get the rent, and then get out of it that way too, because it is income producing, it's cash flowing as a property. So you got a dual exit strategy.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that you make there. So, you can protect yourself and you're not going to be underwater, right? Or you can refinance it out or what have it. But where I personally, because I'm an investor too, I'm in the thick of it, right? I'm doing several deals every single month. But the other flip that we do is a rent ready flip. So we'll purchase property, we'll renovate it for rent at top dollar, right? So we'll put some of the nicer things that you're not going to see in some of the other houses, right? But it's going to make sense from a return on investment standpoint. We'll put that tenant in, and then that tenant's monthly rent becomes kind of the 1% rule, right?
Right.
Going back to that. So if I'm renting it out at $1,500, I'm gonna at least sell that property for $150,000.
Right.
Or better.
Yeah, you're correct. And like you said, other finishes, it depends on where you go. You could look at some of these municipalities out where you might need to put the quartzite countertops in because that rent is going to go that much more, and that's the expectation. Versus this $1,200 rent. Well, we want the nice laminate ones that look like the it looked like the marble, and because you want to maximize your rent potential.
Yeah, and I think that's where we come in. We know these areas. We'll tell you, hey, you don't have to go this nice on here, but on this one, it's highly, highly recommended.
Yes. Yeah, like you recently just completed a flip for the owner of our brokerage, Douglas Skipworth, one on Walnut Grove. It's you looking at that. We were as a team going in and we need to maximize this, and who's going to be buying this? What are they going to be wanting? What fish are they going to be wanting? And it'll be up on our website not too much longer. But Mario, they did a beautiful job for this property on Walnut Grove.
I thought it was a great partnership. You had some real good ideas that we were able to just kind of bring alive, and I think Douglas
he's happy. He's happy. And a fun fact on that is more so he's helping his son Henry, who's a junior in high school, of getting into the investment. So this is Henry's baby too. So that's so cool. Yeah. So it's keeping the investment in the family, keeping it generational. So what are some common practices you see in successful flippers? Hi. Go this back to dialogue, which is
they have a strategy. They implement it. They limit the number of decisions, kind of what we were talking about. But they have a team. So almost every single one of them has their ducks in a row, right? They're not going in blind. They have their real estate agent, and the real estate agent very keenly knows what that investor's buy box is, and what they're looking for, right? They have their set contractor. They have their lending, in order. They have their paperwork in order so that they can move as fast as necessary to be able to take advantage of these Memphis deals, because Memphis is fast.
Yeah.
I mean, any deal worth having, but you need your team and you need to be able to make that decision almost the same day, because it's gone.
And going into that, you said have your team, and you want your team, you want them in the right seats on that bus. But if you mentioned having a real estate agent there, it's very key to make sure you have one that is well versed in investment properties.
Sure. I would say, if you're an investor, hire people that invest themselves, right? If you're going to hire a CPA, make sure that they have investment. Your insurance, your lending team, your construction team, your property management team. I mean, the whole slew of them. Make sure that they know what investment is and they've done a couple themselves.
That's going to just help your success all the way around, especially if you're new to this.
Yep.
So everybody starts somewhere, and not everybody comes in with zero experience at some point. And so surround yourself with people that are smarter than you.
It's 100%.
So, we look at this. We've been in the last few years where all these flippers or these investors has been the agreeable gray or millennial gray, what they call it. Where do you see? I see that fading out. Where do you see design trends going for what, maybe even for turnkey rentals? What tenants are looking for, and then also too maybe what are retail buyers looking for?
Well, this is actually not my wheelhouse. So I actually encourage investors, especially when they're doing these higher end renovations, right? They're going to be above those $300,000 where you need the nicer tile. I'm happy to say that, if you bring it to me, I can build it for you, right? I know what to build. But from a design standpoint, I 100% rely on my wife. So she is much better because I can't tell two shades of red, from anything else. But she's got, the dove white, and I think you're very much the same, because when we're talking and picking up cabinet colors for Douglas, you had all these shades of white, and I was like, all right, let's just tell me, and I'll go get it for you, right? So I know where I'm strong, right, which is the construction, but I also know when to ask for help and rely on you, the investor, if you have an idea, or Alyssa, what do you think on here, or ask my wife, just in case you don't have some sort of designer.
I would agree. Once again, going back to know where your strengths lie, and don't just throw something at the wall and hope it sticks.
Yep. No, I'll tell you. If I don't know it, I'll tell you. I'll be the first.
Yes. All right. It's been over the last years with inflation, which we've been suffering from nationwide, and we've seen building costs go up. We've seen pretty much everything just go. Where do you see building cost, or what that's going to look like in this next 12 months, next 24 months?
Man, that's a tricky one. I've been trying to, I don't have a crystal ball.
Oh, you're right. But just none of us do.
But we have a new president coming in, and he tends to be business friendly. However, he's also kind of thrown out a couple things of like tariffs and lumber and metal and nails and all these construction materials. A lot of it we get from overseas. So if those tariffs and things come to pass, then I think that the material costs will be impacted negatively, right? Prices are going to go up, which means the price of the renovation is going to go up, which you have to be conscious of your return on investment, right? And kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So just because of what he said, I do tend to think that material costs are going to go up.
I would definitely think so in the short term.
In the short term, I agree. So I think maybe it'll start to turn, after this, 2 years. I think Elon Musk said, hey, it's going to be temporarily painful at the beginning, but ultimately it's going to be a good thing. I tend to agree.
It's just growing pains.
It's just growing pains,
and we just don't know exactly what's going to, but it's still, there's going to be deals to be had out there.
100%.
And it's the prices will end up reflecting that, or what the sales prices will, what rent prices will go to you, because where insurance costs going at, that is always reflected in what the rent's going to be for these properties, and then in turn that affects the value, the ARV of the property.
All of it. It's just a snowball effect.
Yes. So which can be good and bad, which way you look at it, and which side of fit you're on.
Well, my biggest thing is, I love this quote, which is, what's the best time to get into real estate? well, that's yesterday.
Yes.
What's the next best time? Today.
Yes.
Right. So I'm a huge fan of staying in the market no matter what it is, one way or another, right? If it's time for flipping, it's time for flipping. If it's time for buy and hold, there's always a time to get into real estate and be successful.
Yep. The time is now.
Yeah, the time is now.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you. What questions do you have for me?
I had a couple. So I think just to, help, the borrowers, but for hard money and for CoreLend, what makes for a good borrower?
You have your stuff together. You said we funded you and you needed 4 days to close. Well, like if we do that, I'm going to need you're doing an LLC. I need your LLC docs, your EIN number, your certificate of good standing. We need your driver's license. We don't have that already on file. The quick speed of which you get your documents to me to where we can underwrite this and get it to the closing table. And it's usually, once we have those holidays and the deal just changes, the scope of work changes. But it's the speed in which you respond to our request on the bar and then being communicative, but not overly so to where it hinders us from being able to do our jobs of underwrite.
Yeah. Trust the team. I know I learned that very early on with working with CoreLend because I've been working with you guys for a couple of years now. I think you shared with me close to $2 million worth of loans.
We paid us off.
They paid off. So I still have some deals open with you guys, and I'm excited to do even more. But one of the things I learned is I have a folder on my desktop with all that information that I can immediately send over to you, so I can get those deals approved, quicker than anybody else.
And that gives us confidence in you and you knowing what you're doing. We realize if you're a first time one, it's going to take a few more steps, but when you consistently get documents to us, get these things to us where we can move the process quickly, it instills confidence in our loan committee. They know what they're doing. They're going to get the job done, or they've got a great team around them that's going to be able to get the job done.
Yep, that's huge. So, well, I guess this ties into it. Getting, what can investors do to help get deals approved faster?
So that goes right. And to really know your market too, because we've got some, they want to bring a deal to us and they're giving us this ARV that is $50,000 more than any but of us can come up with an ARV. So it is, well, we can't do that. We can't give you what we want. We can do 100% funding on purchase price and rehab, but it's got to fit within these parameters. For 75% LTV of the ARV. So meaning if their property is worth $150,000 ARV, we can loan up to $112.50. Now, however, that's divided amongst that purchase and rehab, but we can't lend you $150,000 on a $150,000 ARV private. And in more than once, we have people bring those deals to us and try to say, well, no, it's going to be worth this much. Well, no, we haven't had anything sell that, and we're not setting records in the market that we're in right now.
Yep. And then I think one of the things that I've, kind of experienced is sometimes they have unrealistic scope of works as well, where they're either way too low, like there's no way it's going to get across based on the photos and what needs to be done, or they're just way too high.
Yes, and that is why, too, kind of bring up where, as with CoreLend, a lot of times we will order a secondary scope of work because we could have such huge discrepancies in what the borrowers is and then what, say, you come in and you say you can do it. Well, we know you can do it for that. But we might necessarily have not worked with this borrower before. We don't know. So we might send another person just to let's compare and contrast this. And this is done as a protection for our borrowers too, that we don't want them to get like, oh, I need this 30 extra thousand and then there's no more room left. And so then the project goes stagnant and then it's just not a good situation all the way around. So it's more so protection. We want to be realistic. We want to help you be realistic in what you're going to accomplish with this flip or with this bridge loan for this investment property you're going to keep.
Absolutely. So how does CoreLend do like the property inspection? So the buyer has purchased the property, right? They're getting started on the renovation with us or with their general contractor that they use. How do you guys go in and inspect and make sure that things are, getting taken care of?
And we have worked really hard to streamline that process to make it a good experience for our borrowers. So we have Derek Fleming, who is a licensed general contractor himself on the CoreLend team. And then we just recently hired Jerome, who he is strictly there to go and do site visits. So a lot of times he can go do this, hey, I'm ready for a draw. I've completed this. Can you come take a look at it? He can be there that day or within 24 hours. So that way we could get that draw request processed. You can get your contractors reimbursed, or you can get that next advance depending on if you're licensed and bonded as a contractor. We would really want that to make that a speedy process because we realize speed is the name of the game here. He said make us move fast, but with hard money, you need to move fast too because the clock is ticking every day that you've got that loan out there. And the older you can get it to market or the before you get it refinanced, that's more dollars in your pocket.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And I think this is a really cool thing. When I first started working with you guys, is that you guys actually it's a protection for that investor, because you guys are verifying that us as the contractor, whoever that may be, is in fact doing what they say they're going to do.
Yes, that is exactly right, because a lot of times our borrowers, they might be in a completely different state. They haven't set foot in Memphis before. Now, I do recommend that if you do buy a property in Memphis, do you eventually come here to tour your properties and to see what neighborhood what your property's in, just so you know the market. But it is to protect our borrowers, because we want to make sure that we are being judicious of the money that they're spending to the company and to our borrower, and we don't want them in a situation where they're in a situation to fail because we didn't have these stopgaps in place of, hey, let's not do this. Or we don't want our borrowers no, this hasn't been done. You want to move forward on this next property? Let's get this one back on track first before we extend you even further into another property, because then your house of cards could just end up falling. So, and that's why I recommend going in for, say, for these investors, start off with manageable. Don't try to go in and put deals out on 5 different properties at once and get 5 things going all at once. Let's get these projects underway while going closer to completion. And that way, then let's go focus on your next one, because we've got this one listed now. Now focus on the next one. So a lot of the steps that may seem a little cumbersome, like, why do we need this? It's to protect our borrowers.
And you guys don't even charge. I don't think you guys charge them to do those inspections.
There's no draw fees charged. There's no inspection fees charged. That is a service that we want to offer to our borrowers to just ensure their success.
I mean, that's super cool. So
and keep them on track, and to keep and it could be where Derek, I've looked, he's gone out with our borrower. It was a healthy scope of work, but get into the walls. I mean, it was just not sufficient. So it is okay. We ran into this problem now. How can we come to solution to where you're still going to win here? It's not you're done here. We want to come with a solution that still ensures success.
Yep. Well, I think that's super cool. But I think that's all the questions I had.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us for our first year podcast. We're going to make this a monthly series where we're bringing in new people. And I know that a lot of you out there might be looking, our borrowers or in the Memphis area might be looking for a great general contractor. So we've got Mario's contact with Red Rock Construction. If you want to reach out to us, we can give you that recommendation, his contact info. And if you had more CoreLend questions, you can visit our website at CoreLendFinancial.com and feel free to schedule a call with me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.